Okay, I think that's close enough now. We can actually start the talk for meditation. And one of the things I was going to talk about just for the first 15 minutes was somebody referred me to an article which was recently published by the BBC. And because mindfulness and meditation is becoming more popular these days, they were mentioning that they saw that some people who were doing meditation, or rather the mindfulness type meditation, were experiencing some negative states like anxiety as a result of their meditation. And I think what they were referring to is sometimes the way it was taught to some people, it was getting them to let go of their defenses, and many of those past memories, and sometimes very unpleasant memories from the past, would come up to disturb them. And they had a lot of fear and anxiety about what happened during their meditation. So I wanted to mention that today. What do we do when people just are meditating and some past memories come up and it creates some fear inside of you? And of course, there are many, many remedies to that. And the way I was taught meditation by someone like an Ajahn gave great support if you were meditating and some old memory from the past came up, what to do about it. And of course, the first thing is that if something is coming up now and it hasn't come up for weeks, for months, for years, first of all, why is that? And I think you could all understand it is because some of the memories from the past can be quite negative to the point that we don't really know how to deal with them. So they're pushed down, they're suppressed, they're put under a rock, they don't just disappear, but they get stronger and stronger. It's almost like festering the more they're kept in the dark. So one of the first things is always to allow those memories, if you feel confident and safe enough, to come up. And when they do come up, to make sure you're in a safe place, so you're not just coming home from work, or you're not just overwhelmed with so many other difficulties or problems in your life, and you're with people who understand how this mind works and how to deal with this. Because when it comes up in your mind, if you can let it come up, and don't treat it with fear, treat it with even some kindness. And there are many, many wonderful little ways of changing your perception of that anxiety or that fear which is generated from some past memory a long time ago. And one of those beautiful techniques, which I was even said very briefly last night, was the simile of the hand. And the simile of the hand goes like this: how big is my hand? And you've all seen this before, I hope. My hand is now so big, I can't see any of you. The only thing I can see in the whole world is my hand. So is it the fault my hand is too big? Of course not. The point is, I'm holding my hand far too close to myself. If I put my hand where it belongs, which is at the end of my arm, yes, I can still see my hand, but I can also see all of you as well. And my hand is not totally obsessing and dominating my perception. You're giving it perspective. And that's an important thing to do whenever there's some negative thing comes up in your mind when you're meditating. To find a perspective where you're not denying the existence of that phenomena, that memory, but you're not giving it a meaning which it doesn't deserve. Number one, it's in the past. It's gone. It's not harming you now. Now you are safe. A wonderful thing about the past is all it can do is you remember it. It's like a ghost. And believe it or not, when I was at university, that was one of my hobbies. I know that people in Asia think I'm crazy because as a hobby I used to go with my friends, going to haunted houses, trying to find ghosts with cameras and all sorts of stuff. Because one thing we knew that is the only thing which a ghost can ever do to you is make you scared. It can't physically harm you. And it's the same with those ghosts of the past we call our memories. They can't physically harm you. They can only make you anxious, scared, worried, and that is the thing which we look at. And that is we think, well, it's only a memory. It can't hurt me now. Put it in perspective, and you will find that the trauma, the anxiety from the past gets considerably less. The more you bring it close to yourself, obviously it feels much bigger. The more you hide it, the more sort of afraid you are, the more you give it power. It's one of the little sayings which I used to say when I was even a young monk. You don't run away from ghosts or memories of the past. If you can, you learn to turn around and you chase the ghosts. That's actually how it works. It's not just because I'm a monk, but I remember in the early days in Thailand seeing a few ghosts, because we've been living in this monastery, Wat Nana Chat, and it was a local cremation ground. And then I was just interested in them. What do they do? Where do they live during the daytime? Because you only see them at night time mostly. Do they go and have a rest during it? But anyway, I was interested. So when I went to go and try and talk to them, they ran away from me. And the words I can remember them saying, you can see us. They were terrified of me. And that's true, that's what happens. We always think that we're terrified of them. Turn around and face it, and they run away from you. So any anxiety in the past, any fear of the past, any negative experience of the past, face it, if you feel safety to do so. And also just have this wonderful attitude of non-judgmental. Good people do bad things because they're in bad situations sometimes. Sometimes it's so hard to judge a person, what they do and why they do it. Of course, it's not an excuse for bad behavior, but the bad behavior happened. Why they did that, sometimes you can never understand. But it doesn't mean they're a bad person. They're a good person doing bad things. And little ideas like that, philosophies like that, ways of perceiving like that, take away this fear and this harm. It happened once, it's very unlikely to happen again. So you don't need to feel sort of in danger when these experiences come up. And the second thing, because it is a memory, you have full control over it, which is a lovely thing to understand. That if that memory is too much for you, you can just say, no, not now. It's not the right time. And you can push it away and you deal with it another time when you're stronger. Or you can change that memory and mess around with it. So one of the memories which, not really a memory, but one of these very fearful experiences which I had in my meditation years ago. And we were sitting very quietly, and then the mind was getting very peaceful. And then it was like I had my eyes closed, but then the vision in my mind came up, and it was a monster right in front of me. It had its tongue out, and I could see its teeth were all sharpened like vampire teeth, dripping red stuff, which I assume was blood. And its eyes were bulging, like they were going to fall out of their sockets. And what else? It had a spiky hair. This was before the time of the punks. So even the monsters, they invented the spiky hair, not the punks. It had spiky hair, and what did it had? The skulls around its neck. It looked really, really. But the one thing which I knew, because I've been trained, which I'm telling you now, that you're in total control. So being young, and I think those of you who've been here long enough know that I'm a bit playful, I decided to, and its eyes were just really really scary. So I put some sunglasses over his eyes. So it looked actually quite cool with those sunglasses on. And its mouth, you can see all the black, and I see all the pointed teeth. I just decided, just willed, and then blacked some of his teeth out, like I used to do as a naughty boy at school, blacking out the teeth of like King Henry VIII or something during the history classes. And then, what else did I do? I put a cigarette out of his mouth. Over his spiky hair, I put a sun hat with a flower coming out. Until, after 1 or 2 minutes, I totally humiliated that monster, which I knew I created. I laughed, and my monster never came back again. Now that is just an idea of how, when we have our memories, we can add, we can subtract to those memories, as we do all the time. But you can add something interesting to those memories, making them fun. Because that's another little truth which I discovered a long time ago, especially giving public talks. Giving public talks is supposed to be the scariest thing you can ever do. But the antidote to that is having fun. And as you know, I enjoy my public talks. And I tell jokes, funny stories, laugh. And sometimes it's very difficult giving talks when people have masks on, because I can't see whether you're laughing, smiling, or groaning underneath your masks. No, I can't know. Anyway, but nevertheless, I realize that if you have fun, you get some joy, you can't have fear. The two can't exist in the human mind at the same time. And in fact, one of the greatest antidotes of fear is joy and happiness. Even to the point that when I was a school teacher, I did a school teacher for 1 year, and when I had to set an exam for the kids in maths, and I know that some kids at school, about 13 or 14-year-olds, some of them just hate maths. They can't do maths. They don't like maths. And they all had to do the exam in maths, which I set for them. And because I set about 100 kids, maybe 60 kids, maybe, in the 4 or 5 classes, yeah, probably was 100 kids. And they were all sitting in the hall. You know, remember exams when I don't know if they've changed at all. Everyone sits in their own desk and have the exam paper upside down on their desk. And I'm the sort of sitting on the top, not really back, but on the stage with a clock. And I tell everyone to sit down and be quiet. I said in 1 or 2 minutes, or 2 minutes, the test will start. You know, no talking. And the test will last for an hour, hour and a half. Are you ready? Okay, turn your papers over. The test starts now. And these were the kids which I'd known for the whole year. And those kids, you see them, they were just so tight and tense doing an exam. It wasn't an important exam, or nothing which was really that sort of decisive for their later careers. But nevertheless, they were scared. And then, one by one, they're reading the exam, and they got these questions on maths. And then they stopped. They looked at the question, they looked up at me, and I had this big smile on my face. Because on one of those questions, I put a joke in there. And they'd never seen a joke in an end-of-year maths exam before. I think it started off, the one part I remember was like 2 teachers, sit still and be quiet, were doing some trigonometry sort of question. And for those kids, just seeing that, they looked up, they laughed, and it broke their tension, so they could actually enjoy as much as they can an exam, and did very well. So even telling jokes in exams, that's Ajahn Brahm. So, the same with when you're meditating. Have that little bit of fun, do things slightly differently, and all the anxiety disappears. Little things. If you can't watch your breath, then, as I said on the last retreat, do breath a different way. And it's what I call backwards breath meditation. Have I taught you backwards breath meditation here before? Okay, it's very simple to do. You've been on retreats before, so you've known it before. But how to do backwards breath meditation. Now, to show you what ordinary breath meditation is, just for those of you who haven't closed your eyes, just close your eyes now, breathe in and out 3 times, and at the end of the 3rd breath, open your eyes. Okay, go. In, out 3 times, and then open your eyes. Okay, now I'm pretty sure that most of you would have started with an in breath and then out. In, out, because that's how most people do these things. So backwards breath meditation is this, that when I say go, I want you to breathe out first and then in, out in, out in, out in. Okay, ready, steady, go. And for want of a better name, I call that backwards breath meditation. And amazingly, it feels different. You breathe out first and then in. So a little bit of playfulness like that makes things interesting, but it also takes away the anxiety and the fear, which means that those bad memories of the past, they hardly ever come up at all. And quite frankly, they don't all need to be dealt with. Sometimes, this is Buddhist psychology, you can let go of all of them in one hit. It's like you're a, what do you call it? Like you're rowing a boat down the river, and you look behind you, and tied to your boat is this barge. And there's another barge tied behind that, and another barge tied behind that. And each one of those barges is all your memories of the past, and they're so heavy. It's surprising you're actually making any progress in life, towing all that heavy weight behind you. And what should you do? Should you go to those barges and have a look which is important, which is not important? You can do that if you want to, but that's endless. To me, you just untie the string which connects the boat you're rowing to the first barge, and all the other barges you're disentangled from. And you can just row nice and peacefully down the Swan River. So, that degree of letting go, number one, is possible. And it's also a wonderful thing to be able to do. That's not you, it's a person a long time ago. Sometimes you look at a photograph of the person who experienced that trauma, and look at them now, you now. Is that the same person? To try and disassociate that way. Different time, different people. That time is gone. That can also help just overcome those anxieties. And little by little, with kindness and wisdom, you find that those anxieties, they never bother you again. Isn't that nice? This is why we do meditation, to transcend these things. So they all vanish and go away. So we can live more in the present moment. And if we do want to remember the past, you can keep a few little barges behind you, but in those barges you keep all the nice stuff, all your good memories, all the wonderful things which happened to you. Just like the photos in your house. They're all beautiful photographs. I often say this, life is strange. In your house, whenever I go visit people's houses, I see these lovely photographs of, you always see in their marriages, you You see photographs of you on holiday somewhere, photographs of you, your graduation, throwing up your hat, and all those happy photographs I see in people's houses, but I never, ever, ever see the photograph of them stuck in the traffic on the way to work. Never see the photographs of them being sick. Never see the photographs of all the difficulties in relationships, only the marriage. Yay! We always, in our house, we only have happy photographs. But in here, do you keep the happy photographs in there? Or do you have a lot of negative photographs in there? For goodness sake, you do have a delete button. So you find the delete button in meditation, delete, 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 delete. And you can't get the negative memories back again. You keep the positive ones and have a happy time. Okay, that's only 20 minutes, so can't go on for too long on this, but nevertheless, now is the time for actually doing the meditation. And a bit of kindness and softness, and you find out this really helps. You don't need to have anxiety in meditation. I don't know how people teach in those places, but it's not how we teach here. So really safe. So sitting down, closing your eyes. Yeah, I'll put my mask on. Out of sympathy for all of you. Can you hear okay with the mask on? Can you hear okay with the mask on? No, okay, I'll take it off. Use the excuse. So closing your eyes. With your eyes closed, remember this is a gift for you. And it's not a time to achieve things or get rid of things. It's like relaxation time. Beautiful sound of the wind. The sound of the wind like that reminds me of being in mountains, where I'd meditate a lot. Beautiful places. The wind was noisy, but it was natural. I could not control it, so I had to just let it be. There's something about nature, winds, or the sound of rain, or the sound of a river, which actually tranquilized. And the reason was because I could do nothing about it. I just had to be aware. It was like a type of music. I could listen to it, enjoy it, and allow it to make me peaceful. But then, as usual, I start with my body, making sure it's comfortable. And it's not just for a second or two. I used to take minutes on my body. And I start with my feet. So, start the feet, but also the legs. And it's not just being aware. Mindfulness is great, but it's never enough. It's also the wisdom and the kindness, which I also add to my awareness. As you know, you do this so often, so much, you give it a name. It's called kindfulness. Not mindfulness, but kindfulness, which is a combination of mindfulness and kindness. And it's not just a word, this is how I look at my legs when I start meditating. A lot of kindness. How are you, legs? And if I find any part of those legs which is tight, which is tense, I relax them. I don't hesitate. If something is itchy, like just the bridge of my nose, I'd scratch it. The first few minutes of meditation, if you've got a kid and you've got to settle them down in bed at night so they can go to sleep, you don't tell the kid, go to sleep or else you're in big trouble. Of course, that'll wind the kid up and they'll never go to sleep. You're kind to them. Stroke their hair. Just mummy is here, daddy's here. It's all right. Tell them a little story like I tell you stories. And soon you go, nice and peaceful. That's what I do to my legs. Make sure they're all really comfortable. And if any part of them is tight, I have the kindness and wisdom to relax them. It's like the tightness is things either pulled apart or squashed too much. And if they're pulled apart, I imagine those two ends or whatever's being stretched. Those two ends, letting go. So the muscle, the tendon, or whatever it is in my body just comes to a state of ease. If anything is squashed, I imagine it expanding. Just imagine it getting bigger and bigger. So the tightness, the pain, if it's that bad, it gets diluted. The larger it gets, the less intense. And I stay with kindfulness on my legs, knowing from past experience this is wisdom. Just when I can let them be and move up to the next part of my body. And my wisdom of many years' experience of meditation knows it's important to stay that few extra seconds to really make sure my legs do not need to be adjusted at all afterwards. And then from the legs to the butt. So I sit on cushions these days, I have to make sure that cushion's in a pretty good position. Otherwise, sometimes your legs go to sleep. Sometimes you get an ache or a pain. It's just disturbing. So I adjust the cushion. That's good. Once the butt is comfortable, up to my back. So you may try this. I think it will work for most people. You stretch your back, give a good stretch. And then I let go. And my back relaxes to an optimum position. You may try some other ways. If you're on a chair, you can lean back, lean forward. But when you do, the mindfulness gives you the feedback. So you can discover what is the most comfortable for you. And no two people are the same. And then check my shoulders. Allowing them to become really at ease. When you focus on one part of your body, you get more information. And that information allows you to check how your shoulders are right now. And how you can ease them. I like just using very simple visualizations, just imagining my two shoulder blades to be like this bunch of strings, one on either side of the spine. And they've been stretched. I don't know who's been stretching them, but I can feel that something's pulling them apart. And I tell whatever's pulling them apart to let go, so I can release the tension. I just do that by an act of choice. And I can feel those two bunches of strings, my shoulder muscles, relax. Because you do this again and again and again, you soon get very skilled at it. Something which you can learn how to relax and ease your own body, physically. Then down my arms, past my elbows, wrists, hands. When you get to your hands, there are so many nerve endings on your hands. It's easy to feel them. And I ask them, how are you? It's like they're another being separate from me. Like I might ask you, how do you feel today? I asked my hands, how do you feel today? These are my own hands. Do you need to be adjusted? And my hands said yes, so I'm adjusting them. Are you okay now? Hands said, not yet, but no, they soon will be. Yeah, there you go. Now they're at ease. And I go back up to my neck. And of course, I've done this before. Sometimes I put my head in a really weird position. So now I check the head is well balanced on top of the neck. Not too far to the right, not too far to the left, not too forward or not too far back. What do I mean by not too far? I can feel it. What's the best position? That mindfulness of the feeling, sensations in my neck. Tell me what's the best position. You get to know that very well. And lastly, with your body, not actually lastly yet, but almost, you go to your face. And I can feel muscles around my eyes and my mouth. I can feel those muscles. They're always a little bit tight. Once you notice them, you soon learn how to relax them. A lot. I feel my muscles around my eyes are now starting to loosen up. Around my eyes too. It's like someone's been massaging them. And it's now very loose. This is an important thing to do. Because if you do have things like anxiety or fear, you can feel that in the muscles of your face. That's why people can see the muscles screwed up in such a way that they say, what are you afraid of? What are you anxious about? Much of the emotions are played out on your physical body. If you learn how to relax the physical body, you learn how to be in control of emotions. Things like anxiety, you can feel it coming up, and you can let it go almost immediately with kindness. And once my head is, face muscles rather, is really relaxed, then I look at my whole body just as one thing. This body like my vehicle, which I plod along life in. And as I look at it, if I find any part which needs a bit of attention and kindness, I'll let my attention go there, zoom in on it, and relax it to the max. Until I can feel my whole body just so at ease. It's a part of it which is yet to be eased off. Go to it. Give it lots and lots and lots and lots of kindness. Learn how to relax parts of your own body. Just by being here and giving it lots of compassion. And then, as usual, I get to this delightful feeling of a body relaxed. It's so much more at ease than when I first came in here and sat down. It's so at ease, so delightfully relaxed. Basically, I can't see that any anxiety can enter here at all. Not a body which is so open and peaceful and comfortable. And I enjoy that delight for a few moments. Then we go to our mind. the Peaceometer. With your Peaceometer, how peaceful are you? Inside. 1 is really peaceful, 10 is very agitated, thinking so much. So, from 10 to 1, how peaceful are you? And number 2, what causes that peace? You know what relaxes your body? What relaxes your mind? You soon learn. Be aware of your peace, or lack of it, like one's aware of the tightness, tension in the body. And with some kindness, present moment awareness, you find that that peace starts to really establish itself inside. The past is not real for you. We always believe in that past, but we add and subtract so much from it. That's why we argue who did what. And you do learn so much more from the present than you will ever learn from the past. This is where wisdom and compassion are born. And now is where your future is being made. So after a while we are much, much more in this moment we call now. And your Peaceometer reading starts to approach 1. And as you become peaceful, just please notice how peacefulness feels. It's got a natural delight to it. It's a wonderful place to hang out. It heals your body. It strengthens your mind. You have more energy when you have peace. And it is like going on a real holiday from all the difficulties of life. So really get into this feeling of peace in this moment. The more peaceful you become, the stronger that peace feels, the less you need to think. Thinking isn't the cause of problems. Thinking is because of a lack of peace inside. Soon, we get so peaceful. And it's easy to do these little meditations on something like the breath. But you're deep inside now. You just watch the breath come in, the breath go out. Simple as you can. And if you want a bit of fun, get a bit bored, or you just want to cheer yourself up, do backwards breath meditation. Out, in, out, in. But not for too long. I'm going to be quiet now. When I start speaking again, it'll be close to the end of the meditation. But for now, be peace. Getting close to the end of the meditation. How peaceful are you? And what does peace feel like? And what cause can you notice created peacefulness? As we take ourselves slowly out of meditation, bring our attention from inside to your body. How does your body feel now? Just sitting here. Hopefully it's just so incredibly relaxed. And the mind is peaceful. The body is really at ease. Aches and pains, even sicknesses, tend to get very light or even disappear. And to take one finally out from the meditation, use the gong. I will ring that gong three times. And please listen to every sound from the gong. When the third chime from the gong starts to disappear, that's a signal to open your eyes. Good. Excellent. Oh. So, is there anyone in the sound room? Yeah, it's high in there. So you got the questions on the machine. Thank you for sitting so quietly in there. Here we go. So usually after the meditation we have some questions. And today, good, from United States, from United Arab Emirates, and from Germany. So first of all, a question from Pennsylvania in USA. Dear Ajahn, what is Sati Sampajanya and how does one develop it? Thank you, sir. Again, your talks and meditations are very helpful in my life. Sati Sampajanya is used a lot in meditation, but when you look at its definitions and how what it actually is, I have to go back to the person who taught me meditation, Ajahn Chah, because he would never use the term Sati Sampajanya. He would use its equivalent, which is called Sati Panya, mindfulness and wisdom. This is just languages Sati is obviously mindfulness. Sam is with. Pajanya gets elided to panya. Pajanya means panya. And that's just basically mindfulness with wisdom. So it's not just mindfulness, it is with wisdom as well. What are you doing that for? Is it helpful? How does mindfulness work? But a lot of times that mindfulness and wisdom, the pajanya or panya, it is not something which you learn from books, or which you learn from listening to a monk or a nun. It's just something which the Buddha said, which monks and nuns here know so well. The Buddhas only point the way. Each person will have to follow that path to find it out for themselves. So sometimes words can be deceptive. What I say is say peace. Do you know what that peace is? And so that we eventually use these teachings to actually understand what wisdom is. So mindfulness and wisdom, first of all, you can use that to, again, as I said, relax your own body. What is a relaxed body? How does it feel? What causes that relaxation? This is all the wisdom. Some people call it insight, understanding, even kindness, compassion. That's all part of wisdom. And little by little, it's not wisdom, it's not knowledge, it's not intellectual. It's much deeper than that. It's sort of feeling it. And little by little, as we practice mindfulness and that wisdom, of course we become good meditators. We understand how this body can relax. We understand how the mind can relax. We understand how we can just be really, really peaceful for long periods of time. That's why, again, sort of, please excuse me, but when you meditate here on a Saturday afternoon, if ever it happens that I just, because it's very close sometimes that, you're meditating and having a wonderful time, and there's no gong to get me out of meditation. I just have to make a determination, just please come out by 4 o'clock. I know one of these days I'm going to lose it and just go right in, meditate, not ring the bell. Because that actually happened. That for this old story of the Vietnamese monk years ago, over in Sydney. And again, I won't tell you his name. Vietnamese Theravada monk, a long time ago. And he started his 9-day retreat. 9 days of teaching meditation. And usually those who've been on retreat, just you get your briefing first of all, then you go for the first talk. But he did it just half an hour meditation first of all, then he'd give his talk. Trouble was, he never gave his talk. He meditated for half an hour on a Friday night. 8 o'clock, he was still meditating. 9 o'clock, still meditating, hadn't moved. 9:30, still meditating. So all his students went to bed. When they got up in the morning, he was still meditating. When it was breakfast time, they went off for breakfast, he was still meditating. He didn't move for 8 days. No breakfast, no lunch, no going to the toilet, no drinking. Just sat there like a Buddha statue. And after 8 days, he came out of his meditation and said, sorry. He got into a deep meditation and just couldn't come out. But he didn't want to come out, basically lost track of the meaning of time. Almost like escape from time. So he's 8 days in there, having a wonderful time, great experience. Fully mindful all the time, not asleep. Oh, no way. Just blissed out. But anyway, afterwards, all his people said, no, Venerable, it's nice to see those things still happen these days. Well done. They were just inspired to see these amazing things which meditation can do. But he was in error there, because meditators, we know that he should have actually, if he's getting really sort of close to those deep meditations, he should say, no, I have to come out at this time, out of compassion for others. So he had lots of mindfulness there, really lots of mindfulness. But his wisdom was a little, bad mark there. Not bad mark, you can't really say bad mark, but could have done better by coming out earlier. So that's what Sati Sampajana means, Sati Panya, mindfulness and wisdom. Have to go together. Just mindfulness, then you can get some anxiety coming up and all sorts of other stuff. You get your wisdom going in there, and the kindness, then you're fine. From United Arab Emirates. Dear Ajahn Brahm, I have a breathing problem that occurs rarely, where I have to breathe heavily. When I try to meditate, it occurs about 4 to 5 times, which makes me lose concentration. No, you don't lose concentration. You breathe heavily. You just have your kindness and wisdom there. And you breathe heavily. And just let your body breathe heavily. That's what it needs to do. That's what it wants to do. So let it happen. This wonderful kindness. Now once the body is just had to do what it needs to do, then you find the body will relax with you. Treat your body like a good friend. It's not something you own. And we call it my body, but that's only just a way of speaking. But treat it like a companion of yours. That's why I asked my legs, how are you doing down there? My back, my tummy, how are you? My sort of head, are you okay today? And I treat it like a friend and have a good attitude towards it. When you have a good attitude towards your own body, with kindness, the body will tell you, look, I really need a scratch. You don't care what other people say. You need it. You let your body be your friend. And if you look after your body like a friend, the body looks after you. Which means if your body needs to breathe heavily, yes, breathe heavily, body. If that's what you need to do, I'm with you. And that's the point where you don't lose your mindfulness. You're with your body. You're not fighting it, trying to control it. And then, as soon as the body's done what it needs to do, it's like the body says, okay, so what do you need to do now? I want to be some peaceful. Okay. And your body cooperates with you. So you don't lose any word. The word concentration, as many of you know, I don't like that word. Stillness, not concentration. Stillness is a much kinder word than concentration. It's much closer to the Dhamma, the meaning of what we're supposed to be doing here. So you don't use your stillness. Then you're very calm. And what was that? Yeah, I can tell this story. Again, these are classic stories accumulated in my life of teaching meditation about this other fellow who could not breathe lightly at all. He came to this retreat which I gave over in Sydney many years ago. And the first day of the retreat, I had all these questions. Half the questions were exactly the same. Can you please tell people to breathe quietly during meditation? It's a silly question. My answer was, look, that gentleman, he's got sinus cancer. He checked in with me the first day of the retreat, the first on arrival. He said, look, I can't breathe through my nose. There's a big tumour up here. He said, all chemotherapy and surgery and radiation therapy, but it's not budging. So his doctors have given up. They said, okay, just nothing more we can do. And so like many people, they decide to go and maybe do some meditation, see if that works. And so he was breathing very heavily. And as soon as I made that announcement, he's only breathing heavily because of, he can't do anything else. Everyone was so kind that no more complaints at all. Even during the interviews, it's disturbing you? No, we're just so happy. It's actually inspiring us that someone is trying their very best actually to cure their cancer. So for 9 days he did that. Of course, this has got a wonderful ending to it. After the 9th day, the last meditation, it's always the last meditation, because people try so hard, and last meditation, it's not working, they give up. So the last meditation, I was actually almost in the car, just getting back to the airport to fly back to Perth. And he came running towards me. Ajahn Brahm, stop, you must stop a moment. Because in this last meditation, always breathing through his mouth, he heard a popping sound. I always remember the way he said it, a popping sound in his nose. And he could breathe through his nose. Only for 1 minute. And then the tumour sort of closed up again. That was really exciting. That shouldn't have happened. No sort of chemotherapy or radiation therapy did anything like that. His meditation, his tumour reduced. And I had to get in the car and get to the airport. So I just told him, just carry on, it's well done. But inside, honestly, I thought he'd left it too late. He was going to die. You can imagine my surprise when about 6 months later, in Sydney, another venue, giving a talk somewhere, this guy came up and said, "Do you remember me? Please don't do that to me. I see too many people." So when he came up and said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No, who the hell are you?" I don't think I said that, I'm more polite. But he said he was that guy. And honestly, you couldn't recognize him. When people are sort of dying of cancer, they look like they're really sick and they're thin, they're not eating properly or whatever. And I said, "Wow, you're that guy." He said, "Yeah." And he said, he carried on meditating and the tumour totally went. And that just gave me such joy and happiness. And I asked him, "What are you doing now?" And he said, "I'm going to spend the rest of the life, however many months, years I have, just teaching other people how to meditate like this." Because it worked for him. Beautiful story. But anyway, so be kind to that breathing. I don't know why your body has to do that, but your body knows best. Let it happen. Last question from Germany. Sometimes the thoughts in my head are so ongoing and ongoing and ongoing and not calming down. Is there something I can do? Thank you, Ajahn and BSWA. One thing which I said at the beginning of this meditation was a very powerful insight. Don't look at the thoughts as the cause of the problem. That the thoughts are just the symptoms of a mind which isn't peaceful. So see if you can get the mind peaceful. Forget about the thoughts. They're just on the surface. They similarly just a way of looking at things. Sometimes a different way of perceiving things like thoughts really helps. And that is looking at these thoughts like the waves on a lake. The waves on the lake are caused by nature. Either, some people are swimming in the lake, or boats in the lake, or there's wind whipping up water. So don't try and stop those thoughts. Because if you do, it's like you have these waves on a lake or on a pond, and you put your hands on the waves, trying to pat them down, trying to smooth it out. You just make more waves. See if you can find what's causing that agitation. The lake obviously is your mind. What causes that agitation? Why are you thinking so much? Use the wisdom, not the force. The whole of meditation, I say this, carefully, the whole of meditation depends on wisdom power, not willpower. Willpower usually disturbs things. Wisdom power sees what the problem is and can let it go. A lot of times that, again, listening to some nice teachings about caring for yourself and not criticizing yourself so much and giving yourself some self-compassion. You're not that bad. Caring for yourself, looking after your body as best you can, relaxing, not judging yourself. Those little things, find you don't have to think so much. And always believing that other people are judging you. They're not. They're not thinking about you. They're usually thinking about themselves. So you can just forget about it and just enjoy yourself. And that means you don't have to think so much. So imagine, your mind is like this lake. It's got all these waves on it, and that's the thinking. You're trying to stop those waves. Leave them alone. And you're not thinking about thinking. You're just thinking. And little by little, you can see if you can look a little underneath those waves. And underneath the waves, the water is much cooler and more still. Maybe go a little bit deeper under those waves. And you find it's very peaceful there. Even though the surface is quite choppy, as they say. Okay. Any questions from the audience here? Oh, one over there first of all, then you can come next. Yes? Yeah.
And I've noticed, particularly with the things that I really want a lot, just recently I've had to let go of some big things that there's a lot. And I've noticed there's the part of me that's able to logically the situation go, right, there's nothing I can do, it's out of my control. And I sort of think I've let go of it. And then a few days later I have this twinge where a memory comes back about it.
Yeah.
There's still a little twinge there about even though I haven't let go. Is it the need to be wanting it, or is it
Okay.
too much really want it?
Yeah, I'll just repeat that because this is heard all over the world. So you've been doing a lot of letting go in your life recently, and you find you've had to let go of a couple of really, really, really big things in your life. And you find that, yeah, intellectually, rationally you've let go, but there's still some twinges come back every now and again. So of course, these are like echoes from the past. And little by little, those echoes, they reverberate, but then they get less and less and less. They disappear by themselves after a while. I know that some people, they've had great tragedies in their life. I remember this one fellow that his son graduated, I think, I don't think you mind me telling people about this, I won't say any names, in electrical engineering or something, got a job with Western Power, and was just taken on the job, I think over in Kalgoorlie somewhere, and his supervisor took him into this big transformer generator, whatever they call it, and he got electrocuted and died quite a painful death. He was only about 21, 22. And his mum and dad were obviously devastated. And I remember his mum and dad would come to Bodhinyana Monastery. And I remember him just saying even in the TV and the newspapers, I can never be happy again. That's what he said, and that's how it felt at the time. But if you saw him today, you'd never think that's that father. He's a very happy, wonderful man. Very joyful. Sometimes you might think of his son. But then, mostly, he has moved on. He got no choice. And afterwards, years later, you look back upon those experiences and you say, you learned so much from them. And that's a wonderful thing. You learn about letting go. It's not easy. And you will have some echoes come back every now and again, but let those echoes come back. We have this saying, the door of my heart is open to you. I always remember doors have two purposes. One to go in, one to go out. So you also let those memories go as well. Through the same door they came in. Okay, you have your question.
I was just wondering, I got Ajahn Cittapalo about the anti that came and pressed on their chest.
Oh, those ones, yeah.
Very unpleasant. Is that just in their mind?
Yeah, that's any Thai people here? They call it Peaceometer. And it's just like sometimes you're laying down at night time and you feel like there's something that's pressing down you can't move, and you get really scared. It's like something, people perceive it as like some spirit or ghost on top of you. But all that really is just, it's to do with the brain. It's a physical thing. It's nothing spiritual or scary. It's just some of your brain is turned on and others haven't turned on. That's why it usually happens when you wake up in the morning. And if anything like that happens, just when we worry about it, we amplify it, and it gets a big, scary thing. We can't move. We can't even scream. We can't say anything. So instead of doing that, just relax. Okay, ghost. If you think it's a ghost, you can be on top of me as long as you like. And when you have kindness and acceptance, you're not feeding that fear, then your brain will slowly turn back on again, as it always does. So it's a physical phenomenon. I know you ask any neurologist, it's got a name, they told me a long time ago, so it's nothing sort of dangerous or whatever. But if ever that happens, you lose that ability to do anything or say anything. Or, if any of you have those experiences, it's very rare, but it does happen sometimes. People astral travel, they leave their body floating up. Sometimes they used to say, oh, it's just so hard to get back in again. And because they're scared. So what to do? You can make use of a very common hypnotic technique. When you've got someone under hypnosis, the hypnotist always says, I'm going to take you out of hypnosis now. After the count of 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out. And the person comes out. It's the same thing if ever you get flying through the air and astral travelling, and you want to come back again. Just tell your brain, or whatever, tell it very softly but firmly, go back into your body after the count of 10. You need to give it time to prepare and just not be so aggressive. No, get in now. That's not the way to look after yourself. 10, 9, 8, no, do it slowly. The same if you feel that you can't move. Just suggest to your brain, after the count of 10, I'll be able to move again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then your brain will turn on. That's usually the best way of doing it. Simple solution. But it's real for people and it causes people a bit of distress. But it's not dangerous at all. Okay, any other questions before we finish off? Okay, thanks for all those questions. Interesting questions. A good class. Thank you. So now we'll just pay respects to Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and then you can stay for a little chat if you wish. Then afterwards I'm going to somebody's house to bless it.